justo e pobre de espírito ser. Tua palavra me sonda, me conta do reino que espera por mim. Eu te ofereço meu pranto, as dores da alma que quer renascer. Eu ouvi tua voz, teu falar me encantou. Quis seguir, caminhar, quis saber pra onde vou. Eis-me aqui, minha dor sereno. There is a feeling around me I can't describe. It is all new to me. Oh Lord, my heart is reviving. A feeling of hope is invading my soul. I want to be gentle, be pure, be fair, and a humble kind of man. Jesus, your loving voice reach me, telling of the kingdom that waits for me. I offer you all my tears and pains of a soul that wants to be reborn. I have heard your voice, your words amaze me. Want to follow your steps, want to know where I'm going. Here I am, my soul is relieved. Eu ouvi tua voz, teu falar me encantou. Quis seguir, caminhar, quis saber pra onde vou. Eis-me aqui, minha dor sereno. Um sentimento me ronda, não sei dizer, tudo é novo pra mim. Meu coração se renova, sinto a esperança invadir o meu ser. Quero ser manso, ser limpo, ser justo e pobre de espírito ser. Tua palavra me sonda, me conta do reino que espera por mim. quer renascer. Eu ouvi tua voz, teu falar me encantou. Quis seguir, caminhar, quis saber pra onde vou. Eis-me aqui, minha dor serenou.
Senhoras e senhores,
Ladies and gentlemen,
a todos. Meu nome é
peace
Jhon,
and
eu
light
sou
for
produtor e
everyone. I'm
apresentador
Jorge
do
Reis.
programa
I'm producer and
Vivência Espírita.
presenter of
E quem está
the
nos acompanhando
show
hoje também como
Vivência
tradutores serão
Espírita. Our
Denise
interpreters are
Tipulo e
Denise
o Felipe
Tipulo
Pazelo.
and
E a gente
Felipe
agradece
Pazello.
imensamente
We
essa
appreciate
participação deles aqui
immensely their
junto conosco.
participation with us.
Eu gostaria de agradecer a todos vocês
I
pela
would like
presença
to
aqui
say
no
thank you
primeiro
to
encontro
everyone
mundial
here
dos
on our
amigos de
first
Jesus
world
Cristo com
meeting of
Chico Xavier
Jesus
e sua
Friends
obra
with Chico
espírita
Xavier and
cristã.
his legacy.
Simultaneamente, é o 14º encontro
Simultaneously, it's the
nacional. E
14th
o tema que foi
national
escolhido
meeting.
para esse evento
And
é
the theme
o
for this
Evangelho
meeting
nas obras
is the gospel in
Então,
Chico
durante toda essa
Xavier's
semana, nós
works.
teremos palestras
Throughout this week, we'll
maravilhosas
have
para todos
wonderful
vocês, para
lectures for
todos nós, para
everyone
relembrar o nosso querido
so that
Chico
we can
Xavier
remember
e
our
Jesus
dearest
Cristo.
Chico Xavier and Jesus
Apenas para nós
Christ,
nos
of
atualizarmos
course.
um pouco, nós
Let's
iniciaremos
update a bit.
dentro de instantes com a nossa
In
primeira
some
palestra e
seconds, we will
o
start with
palestrante
the
será o
first
nosso irmão
lecture,
Jhon
and our
também
speaker is
acompanhado
Jhon
pelo coral
Harley,
Vinha de Luz.
and
E o
also
tema será
Vinha de
Chico
Luz
Xavier,
Choir. And
fiel
the theme
servidor de
is
Jesus.
Chico Xavier,
Mais
faithful
tarde, às
server of
16 horas,
Jesus.
horário de Brasília,
Later
nós
on
teremos
4
o
o'clock
Rui
Brasilia
Marta
time,
com o
we'll
tema
have Rui
O Reino de
Marta
Deus.
with the
Amanhã,
topic
segunda-feira,
Kingdom of
a
God.
Vanessa
Tomorrow on Monday,
Ancelone. O
Vanessa
tema será
Ancelone
linguagem
will
corporal,
talk about
emocional
body
e a boa nova.
language,
E será
emotional
às
language,
18h30, horário de Brasília. Na
and it
terça-feira,
is
teremos a
6:30
Rosário
Brasilia
Jordão
time.
com o tema Boa Nova de
Tuesday we'll have
Humberto de Campos,
Rosario
também
Jordão with
às
good news from
18h30,
Humberto de
horário de
Campos,
Brasília.
also at
Na
6:30
quarta-feira,
Brasilia
nós teremos o
time.
nosso irmão
On
Geraldo
Wednesday we
Ramos
will
Neto,
have
Geraldinho
Geraldo
Lemos,
Ramos
que o
Neto,
tema será Os Ensaios
Geraldinho
Evangélicos
Lemos.
de
He'll
Emmanuel,
talk about
às 18h30
Emmanuel
também.
evangelical
Na
essays,
quinta-feira,
also
no dia
at
7, nós
6:30.
teremos o nosso irmão
On
Fernando
Thursday,
Peron,
the
com o
7th,
tema
we'll
A
have Fernando
Originalidade
Peron
das Obras
with
de
the
Chico Xavier,
topic
às
Chico
18h30.
Xavier's works original or
Na sexta-feira, nós
originality at
teremos a
6:30
nossa
as
irmã
well. On
Sônia
Friday, we
Barsante
will
com o
have
tema
Sonia
O Evangelho
Barsanti
na
with
Vida
the
e nas
topic
Obras de Chico Xavier,
Gospel in
também
Work and
às
Life of Chico
18h30.
Xavier,
No
also
sábado,
at
no
6:30.
sábado será às 14
On
horas da manhã.
Saturday, we'll get
A
together
Noêmia
at
Maria
2
José
Brasilia
com o
time.
tema O
Noemi and Maria
Cristianismo
José will talk
Primitivo.
about
E também no
Christianity
sábado, aí às 15
and
horas, né? Portanto, no sábado
primal
nós teremos duas
Christianity.
palestras também.
We'll
Nós
have
teremos
2
a presença
lectures
da
on
nossa querida
Saturdays.
Marlene,
We'll
esposa de
have
Sergio, com o
Marlene,
tema O
Sergio's
Evangelho
wife,
Musical
with the
sobre
topic
Chico Xavier.
Music
E no
Gospel
domingo,
about Chico
encerrando o nosso
Xavier.
evento, nós
And
teremos o
on
nosso irmão Carlos
Sunday,
Bacelli de
we'll have
Uberaba com o
Carlos
tema
Bacelli
O
from Uberaba,
Consolador
Minas
às
Gerais,
15
Brazil,
horas.
with
Portanto,
the
nós
topic
ficaremos muito felizes com a presença de
to
todos
talk
vocês
about some
conosco durante essa
topic,
semana.
and we
Tenho
appreciate
certeza
having
que o
you
nosso
with
encontro,
us.
mais uma vez,
I'm
será
sure that
abençoado.
our
Nós
meeting will be
conheceremos essa obra
blessed.
maravilhosa do nosso querido
We
Chico.
know
E para
this
nós
dear work of our
apresentarmos agora o
dearest Chico
nosso
Xavier.
palestrante,
And to
né,
present
de
our
hoje,
lecturer,
que será o nosso irmão Jhon
today's
Harley,
lecturer is
já é
our
biógrafo de
brother
Chico
Jhon
Xavier, muito
Harley.
conhecido
He is a
no nosso
Chico
país.
Xavier biographer who is very
Ele
well
é
known in
integrante
Brazil.
do grupo espírita Sheila e da
He is
casa
part
de
of
Chico Xavier,
Sheila
ambos em
Spiritist
Pedro
Group
Leopoldo,
and
Minas
Chico
Gerais.
Xavier
E ele
House,
é
both in Pedro
diretor-presidente da
Leopoldo,
Fundação
a
Cultural
city, and
Chico
Minas
Xavier.
Gerais.
Portanto,
He is
nós
president
desejamos
director of the
uma
Chico
boa
Xavier Cultural
palestra e
Foundation.
vamos vibrar
We
com o
wish
nosso
a
irmão
good
Jhon Harley, que
lecture and
apresenta para
let's
vocês nesse momento.
vibrate
É
good
com
thoughts
você,
with
meu
Jhon
irmão Jhon.
Harley. It's with you, Jhon.
Olá, meus amigos.
Hi, everyone, my brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to be here on our first world meeting of Jesus Friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy.
E sua obra espírita cristã. Eu sou natural da cidade de Pedro.
I was born in Pedro Leopoldo,
Do nosso Chico.
birthplace of our Chico Xavier. We could live with him for 21 years. And so far, we've written 2 books about Chico. The first one is O Voo da Garça, that was released in 2010 in Chico Xavier 100th birthday. And the second one, Nas Trilhas da Garça, Chico Xavier em Minas Gerais, that was released in 2016. We talked about Chico Xavier and the state where he was born and has lived all his life. And we have our third and last book of this Heron, this Garza trilogy. I ask them to put the cover of the book for you to see. This book will be released, if God permits us, in the second semester of 2022. Initially, talking about Christ's faithful servant, before talking about today's topic, I would like to say thank you to all of those that direct or indirectly took part so that this meeting could happen. Because of the pandemics and an online matter, but this way we could reach a broader audience. So I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I tell you also on behalf of everyone that put this meeting for all of us, the national and regional meetings as well in Brazil. I would like to highlight this show, Vivência Espírita, for the support, especially for Rodrigo Costa. We say thank you from the bottom of our heart for the dedication, for the support, for the hard work so that this event could happen. Not only to Brazil, but all over the world, in other countries that are in synchrony with the life and work of our dearest Chico Xavier. I would like also to tell you that the main purpose of our meeting, the world meeting and the national meetings as well, we do not want to deify or make our Chico Xavier as a myth. We would like to know that as Chico was so human as we are, he made extreme sense of his person that it is for us it looked like he wasn't human, but he smiled, he longed for things, he lived as each and every one of us. But there was one difference that I would like to highlight today. In his 92 years of life, from all of those, 75 years he dedicated to Jesus. Without any doubt, Chico was a faithful servant of Jesus Christ. And he showed his faithfulness on the things he used to think, on the way he talked to people, on the way he wrote and acted as a human being. He was a love and charity apostle. And our objective here in these meetings is to publicize his life and the works, more than 500 of them that were psychographed when he was here with us, so that we can consolidate the brotherly spiritism, a spiritism that we respect everyone's differences and work in this renovation that we need and we long for. In this initial prayer, I would like to invite a choir, the choral Vida and Luz, Life and Light of the Christian Spiritist Irradiation Choir. And I would like to talk about Valeria, that unfortunately disincarnated because of the COVID, alongside with her husband. And we had many meetings about Chico Xavier and the Christian Spiritist work. And one of them happened in Recife, in the northeast of Brazil. And in this prayer, I would like to have the best vibrations, the best feelings to our sister Valeria, her spouse, and all of her family, all of her dear family. So with you, the choir, Vida and Luz, Hail Mary, Ave Maria. Depois da música.
Maravilha.
That was wonderful.
Receba Valéria onde estiver.
So, Valeria,
Carinho.
may you receive our care, our best thoughts, whatever you are. And of course, this extends to the family and family members and friends of Bianca Almeida, the conductor of the Vida em Luz choir of the Christian Spiritist Radiation from Goiânia, Goiás, Brazil. Our conductor, Bianca, um, her mom disincarnated due to COVID-19. So we wish you good vibrations, and we are conveying those vibrations and prayers. So Francisco de Paula Cândido, that was his official name, Francisco Cândido Xavier, or also known as Chico Xavier, or somebody he would call himself Cisco Xavier. So Chico Xavier demonstrated his fidelity to Jesus throughout 92 years, throughout his entire life. And let me tell you something, I do not know how he was able to do that. Sometimes spiritists and people from other religions thought were really grateful for him, of course, and he lived in a simple way, and he also died in a simple way, a very simple life. And he did beyond what had been programmed, as André Luiz mentioned in one of his pieces, psychographed by Chico himself. He was a good person for sure, a man of good will. He was complete. He did way beyond he had been programmed to. So let me paraphrase Carlos Antonio Bacelli, a biographer from Uberaba. Chico Xavier was not an angel playing the role of a man. Instead, he was a man of flesh and bones. He was a man of the world and in the world, playing the role of an angel. Have a look at the difference. So it's not an angel playing the role of a man, but instead, a man playing the role of an angel. That's the difference. So he was among us, and he had been among us for so many years. And of course, he was subjected to the laws of reincarnation, joys, problems, sad moments, as a normal person, just as us. So after 19 years of his disincarnation, his lesson was so meaningful that he is still alive in our hearts, among us, in our memories. He is a faithful servant of Christ. There are many stories about Chico Xavier. There are some sad stories, joyful stories, some curious stories, and other strange, unusual stories. And of course, here in our chat, or on October the 10th, October the 3rd, better saying, is to tell you some stories regarding Chico. So our intention is to highlight the human side of Chico Xavier. So we want to highlight the human aspect of him. People talk about the medium, people talk about the myth, but I would like to highlight his human side, the human side of Chico Xavier. So let me choose a character from a Brazilian writer, and he named one of his characters as the crazy boy from Pedro Leopoldo. Just an analogy, okay, with our lovely Chico Xavier. He devoted himself to the good, to the other people, and throughout the years, he became the Uncle Chico of Uberaba, or Chico Xavier from Brazil and from the world. So, Rodrigo, can you please show the two covers of our books? Because the two covers represent Chico in a lonely way. I cannot say that Chico was a sad soul, but in my understanding, Chico was a lonely soul, as all souls, big souls are in sciences, in philosophy, and also in religion. So he lived under the influence of his time, and sometimes he went way beyond that time. He lived the future, not the present. That's why those people were persecuted. They were not well understood. And he devoted himself to good things, to goodness. And today, on October 3rd, 9 years ago, he received here in Brazil the title of the greatest Brazilian of all times because of his money. Quite the opposite. Didn't have any money. He was a man of goodwill because he lived the gospel in its completeness. And now, let me tell you something interesting. There is a heron here on the first cover and another heron with its paws on the soil. Let me establish an analogy, okay? Let's reflect upon that. So, even though the heron had two beautiful wings, leaving his human side, Chico Xavier lived among us with his feet on the ground. The story of the heron is a normal story that was told in Pedro Leopoldo, his native town. It was registered by a poet called José Filho. He interviewed a religious woman, a very famous woman called Satomasi. And in that interview that was registered by José Issa Filho, the writer in the poem, she said that in the morning of the April 2nd of 1910, it was the most beautiful morning she had ever seen. A group of herons could be seen. It was so white. They were moving from side to side in the skies of Pedro Leopoldo, from side to side. And now I'm telling you this story because one of those herons was Chico Xavier, and that heron landed in Pedro Leopoldo. And now let's listen to the poet José Issa Filho. He says, talking about Chico Xavier and the heron, bringing love and compassion and transforming people's lives that have been really afflicted into sunny days and hopeful days. In 2012, here in Pedro Leopoldo, I welcomed the son of a lovely couple. They were friends of Chico Xavier's. Their parents, the Meireles family, lived with Chico Xavier for many, many years, and they have received books, letters from Chico. They visited Chico in Uberaba, in Minas Gerais, for many, many years. And at the end of the 1980s, to be more precise, in 1989, one of Chico's most important people that worked with Chico directly, Italo, disincarnated. And the couple, Elenir and Irineu, knew that person, but that person eventually passed away in 1989. Vilker Batista. Elenir was in her house. She lived in Niterói, in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And she was in her house when, via her spiritual mediunic, she was able to identify Wilker, Mr. Batista, and she asked her. He said to. She asked that person, and the person said he was okay. He was adapting. himself, and she asked another question. What about Chico Xavier? Because she would like to know if Chico Xavier, where Chico Xavier was, his dimension, and Wilker Batista, in that spiritual view, replied to her via her mediumship. She said, Elenir, Elenir, I'm really embarrassed of myself, ashamed of myself. Chico Xavier is much more than we could ever imagine. And the view disappeared. And here I ask myself, I keep wondering, Mr. Wilker Batista, that had worked for more than 30 years with Chico Xavier, he got embarrassed as he disincarnated because he was able to understand Chico Xavier's real dimension. And I keep asking myself, who would Chico Xavier be? Who was that creature that was here among us? And he hid himself as much as he could because he was so humble. But of course, we could not place such light under a bed. So Chico Xavier was denounced in a certain way by his examples. And of course, people knew him by his examples. He became a faithful servant of Christ. People ask me sometimes, Jhon, in your opinion, you have lived with Chico Xavier for 21 years, and according to your research that I have been doing since 2008, let me ask you a question. What is the most important legacy in Chico Xavier's life? What was his most important legacy? And let me tell you something without a shadow of doubt. Chico Xavier followed the recommendation of Jesus's gospel. Love God above all things and love the neighbor as you love yourself. So Chico Xavier loved without distinctions, without making difference in creed, color, race, loving everyone with no discrimination. So maybe that could be the greatest legacy from Chico Xavier. He loved, and he loved his neighbor as the neighbor really is. So that is, let me tell you one of Chico's most important qualities as a faithful servant of Christ. Love your neighbor as the neighbor is. That means that you have to respect differences. When we talk about Chico Xavier, we are talking about ethics. We are talking about tolerance. We are talking about generosity. We are talking about kindness. He followed that maximum from the gospel of Jesus.
Only for you to have an idea, for those who didn't live with Chico Xavier, and I do not want to deify or make his figure as a myth. The ones that read Emmanuel's works, the novels psychographed by Chico Xavier, especially one of them, Paulo and Estevam, the feeling we have is if we were side by side with the ones that were in the primal Christianity. I would like to ask Rodrigo to play a song that portrays the life and the work of Chico Xavier. Love God above everything and loving thy neighbor as thyself.
sem tocar o chão. Afugentas dores, pensamentos flores te
Jhon, não estou te ouvindo, tá no mute.
Vou contar uma história aqui para vocês.
I'll tell you a story.
Quando nós visitávamos o Chico,
When we used to visit Chico,
ele atendia no grupo espírita da prece na cidade.
he worked in a spiritist group in Uberaba, in Minas Gerais, Brazil. And there was a big line. Everyone would like to talk to Chico. All of a sudden, a lady was suffering so much because she had lost her mother, her husband, and her children in one car crash. Everyone was silent in that prayer spiritist group, waiting for Chico. Chico didn't say anything. He stood up, walked towards that lady, held her, and cried with her in public. I used to say that without any words, he said everything. He was touched by someone, a stranger suffering. He held her and kept crying along with her. Up to this day, I keep asking me, what kind of love is that I still don't know? One person said, this is the love that Jesus taught us. And I can tell you, I'm in the Spiritist movement for 41 years, but I cannot feel this love that Jesus taught us, but I am sure, using Jesus's words, the one that persevere until the end will win themselves. And they asked Chico, do you regret anything? And someone asked him, I don't remember who. He stopped with the pen on the books he was signing at dawn and answered us. Yes, I regret not loving more, because love is only what we leave him behind when we die. Only love that what we leave behind in the world. This is the greatest legacy that he could leave for us. I'll paraphrase Luke, the evangelist, chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. When he replied to Martha, I'll paraphrase him, because if we asked Christ, Jesus Christ, he would say about this. We are restless with many things, but only one is necessary. Chico Xavier chose the best part, and this one will not be taken away from him. Mother Teresa chose the best part, the one from Calcutta, and this will not be removed from her. Mahatma Gandhi chose the best part, and this will not be taken from him. Rodrigo, please, could you put the photo of Chico's bedroom so that you can have an idea if you weren't in Brazil at that time? This is Chico's bedroom. Very simple bedroom. And this portrays Chico's life. This was Chico's and the life and work of Chico's, Very simple. And I'm going to use something he used to say a lot. And this has been part of my daily reflections. He used to say, the happiest man is the one that needs the less. The happiest man is the one that needs the least. This means that we suffer because of the unnecessary things. We carry a burden that we shouldn't carry. And when people try to alert us that that burden is not necessary, we end up being hurt with those people trying to alert us. We are like the soul beggars. We try to poke the wounds to provoke others' pity all the time. This is the victimization process. Chico Xavier wasn't on that place. He did whatever necessary. He lived with the essential only. This is why he left this legacy for us, especially this one, to live Christ's gospels in its plenitude, integrally. He didn't play a role. He was what he was. He was, he is, and he will be Chico Xavier, showing on the daily lives who he was, and he is, and he will be. I say this not because I read the biographers told me. I lived this. I followed Chico around. He was a child, but a general. In order to defend the doctrine, Christ's gospel, he, he used to say yes or no, showing this faithful. He captivated us all, and he transformed in the greatest Brazilian of all time.
3 de outubro,
October the
nós
3rd,
comemoramos aqui o nascimento do
we celebrate the birth
codificador.
of the codifier, Allan Kardec.
Sem dúvida nenhuma, Jesus,
Without any
nosso
doubt,
guia,
Jesus, our guide, our
Kardec, o
role model, Kardec
codificador.
is the
Ele que
codifier of the
Chico
Spiritism.
Xavier, o
And I can say, I permit myself
personificador.
saying that Chico Xavier is the example, is a role model.
Aproximadamente 15
If
anos,
Kardec codified the
eu
doctrine in
diria a
15
você,
years,
Chico
I can
Xavier,
tell you that
a decodificou
Chico Xavier
em
decoded it
75
in
anos.
75
Amor,
years of love,
de generosidade,
generosity,
respeito pelas
respect
diferenças,
for the
pela
differences,
diversidade e inclusão.
for the diversity and inclusion
Fiel
as well.
servidor de Cristo. A
Faithful
nossa
server
gratidão
of Christ. We deeply
a nossa
appreciate
gratidão por
our
tantos
gratitude
testemunhos,
for
por
all the
tantos
witnesses, all the
exemplos.
examples.
Num dos casos,
And one of
trazido
the
pela nossa
cases
companheira
brought by our
Terezinha de
friend
Castro,
Teresinha de
simplificar,
Castro,
porque
I'll
eu gostaria de
simplify
prestar
it
aqui uma
because I would
homenagem ao
like
nosso
to
Chico
pay
nessas nossas falas finais.
an homage to Chico in
Terezinha de
these
Castro
last
tem
words.
uma história
Teresinha de
que
Castro
estarei promovendo em nosso terceiro livro.
has a story that I will
Desse
tell on our third book
Terezinha
that
fala que
without
uma das visitas
we do not have any names.
na
She
cidade
told
de
us one of
Uberaba,
Chico's visits in
ela foi
Uberaba.
participar. Era dia muito chuvoso,
It was a rainy day,
muito triste.
a sad
Ao
rainy
redor de
day.
Uberaba, estava muito
The
molhado.
mud in Uberaba was
Chico
very
saiu
thick.
numa caravana para
Chico
distribuir
left
poucos
with
pães.
many people to
Saiu
distribute
ela,
bread.
uma das suas amigas,
So
uma
Terezinha, one of her
Euripides,
friends, Chico,
Susana Maia Mouzinho,
Euripides,
uma das suas
Susana Maia Mouzinho, one of Chico's
chegando
greatest
próximo ao
friends.
local da
When
distribuição,
they
na
were
periferia
close to the place where they
da cidade
would
de
distribute
Uberaba,
the bread,
Minas Gerais,
in the
onde
suburbs
Chico
of
morou
Uberaba, Minas
por
Gerais, in the
43
outskirts,
anos.
better saying.
Ela viu aquela
In the
multidão
outskirts of
subindo
Uberaba,
o
she saw that
tempo
multitude
e
of
ficou
people
assustada.
going
Era
down the
muita
hill.
gente
And she was
e os pães
scared. There
eram
were too
poucos.
many people there, and the
Quando eles
bread
se
weren't
aproximaram,
enough.
o Chico desceu do carro.
When they
Eles
got
foram se
closer,
aproximando,
Chico got
Chico
out of the
caminhando em
car.
direção a
Chico
eles.
was walking
Eles
towards the
começaram a
people,
gritar nos
and they
aviões.
started
Viva
yelling,
Jesus!
"Yay,
Viva Jesus!
Jesus!
Viva Jesus!
Yay, Jesus!"
Terezinha ficou para trás.
Terezinha was
Quando eles
behind.
falaram Viva Jesus,
And when they said, "Hey,
quando olhou para o
Jesus,"
Chico, o
when she
Chico se
looked at
iluminou.
Chico, he
Segundos,
was enlightened.
mas se
Only
iluminou.
for some seconds,
Ela
but he
lembrou
was
daquela cena de
enlightened.
Cristo
And she
Jerusalém,
remembered the scene of Christ entering
levando os
Jerusalem,
pães.
taking bread.
Ela se emocionou tanto que ela
She
se
was so
prostrou
emotional that
instintivamente.
she
O
kneeled
Chico
down
não viu ela
instinctive,
fazendo isso.
by instinct.
E
And
ela
Chico didn't
agradeceu a
see
Deus
she
pela
doing that. And
oportunidade
she said,
de ter
"Thank you,
vivido
God,
na mesma
for the
época
opportunity of
desse
living the
mensageiro,
same time as this
desse missionário
Christ
do
messenger,
amor,
of this
da
missionary of
alegria
love,
e da compaixão.
joy,
Por isso aqui
compassion."
a nossa gratidão, Chico,
This is why we are so
tantos
grateful,
anos
Chico, for so many
dedicados
years
ao
of
Evangelho
you being
do
dedicated to
nosso
the
Senhor
gospel of
Jesus
our
Cristo.
Lord Jesus
Por favor,
Christ.
Rodrigo,
Please,
a nossa
Rodrigo,
homenagem
our
a todos os
homage,
trabalhadores que estiveram
and all of the
lá nesse
workers that
missionário
were
do amor
beside,
e da
next to this
caridade. Ele
missionary
sozinho,
with love
ele
and
não poderia
charity,
ter feito
because Chico
o
by
tanto que
himself
fez.
couldn't do
Amai-vos uns aos
the many
outros,
things he did.
como eu vos amei.
Love
Nós
one
temos gratidão
another
a
as I
você
loved
por
you.
tantos exemplos
We are so grateful, Chico, for so
deixados
many
aqui
examples left
para todos
for
nós.
us, for all of us.
Aquela música
The song was an homage, maybe one of the greatest homage as a song made by Fábio Júnior, a Brazilian singer, that was named Chico Xavier. And Chico, when we used to visit Chico in the last years of his physical existence, the workers of the Spiritist place used to share this song by Fábio Júnior. A beautiful homage, and Rodrigo will play it for us now.
Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier é sempre ajudar. Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier, quem tem ouvidos pra ouvir, escuta. Chico Xavier é meio estranho pra quem não acredita em seu próprio coração. Chico Xavier não tem tamanho. Ele é luz iluminando a escuridão. Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier é sempre ajudar. Chico Xavier, Chico Xavier, quem tem ouvidos pra
Mas livrai-nos do mal, pois vosso ser o poder, a majestade e a glória para todo sempre. Assim seja.
escuta.
Jhon, você tá no mute aí, você tá mutado, só um minuto.
Quem tem ouvidos para ouvir,
Those who have ears to hear, please do listen. Have a wonderful meeting, the first world meeting of Jesus' friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy.
sua obra espírita cristã. Vivência espírita, beijo no coração.
Vivência Espírita.
Amigos,
Thank you
Jhon,
very much, Rodrigo, my friends, George.
façamos a nossa
Here we
parte.
go. Let's do our part. Chico did everything he could here among us. Lots of kisses in your hearts.
Amigos, maravilhosa
My
palestra.
friends, it was a wonderful presentation by Jhon Harley, our brother. And thank you very much. And now we are going to end this session. And now we're going to open another session with our brother, Rui Marta from Portugal.